My parents came to this country with almost no money. I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. And then people tell me, oh, that's because you had privilege. They tell me white privilege. It's sort of weird. It's sort of an interesting, it's kind of interesting.
Do you tell them?
As I take the blindfold off, and now you have your answer. But the interesting answer is, actually what I do tell them, Tucker, is that I did have privilege. I didn't grow up in money, but I had two parents in the house, a mother and a father, with a focus on education and a faith in God. And you know what? That is the ultimate privilege. That if I'm going to enjoy that, every kid in this country ought to enjoy it too.
Watching the Blaze and Tucker Carlson hosting the Republican presidential candidate in Iowa is the beginning of a power shift in the mainstream media metrics. They just took a massive amount of a political equality away from Fox News. They thought they were the only people that can do this. You heard him. Vivek is somebody that when you look deep, when he responds to questions, he reasons before he speaks. When you look through all these candidates, like seriously, if I was to vote, from what I saw yesterday, Vivek will obviously take my vote. Ron DeSantis, I thought could, but he's going down. I knew he would come here maybe to boast up his polls, but I saw just a mess. In few weeks to come, truth be told, Vivek might top Ron DeSantis because a lot of people are actually realizing, though I've seen a lot of shortcomings, like people saying, oh, you don't yet know Vivek, he's Hindu, this, that. I don't want to go into that. When I want to look at the candidate, I follow what you're saying, follow some of your actions, are you the kind of person that can speak and do? That is how I qualified a candidate. I don't want to go into your history. I don't care about that. He has proven beyond reasonable doubt, he can be someone that people can stand to listen to. This is not the first clip I'm doing about him. Someone said I'm praising him a lot. I made it clear he might not be the only person that is standing there. He should be able to occupy a position in government. He will do a lot, from my observation, if he doesn't win. People all know Trump would talk, then questions surface what happened if Trump cannot stand? What becomes of the outcome? That is a question I've seen a lot of people asking. People are considering Vivek than Ron DeSantis, that we all knew, based on what he did in Florida before this battle between Trump and him.
Video from the campaign trail of Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, who's polling quite well in several states, agreeing with a completely untrue and frankly unhinged conspiracy theory about the Federal Reserve illegally adding zeros to the bank accounts of media companies. Take a look.
The Fed is illegally taking money out the back door, not through the proper channels, or adding zeros to bank accounts, to the media or their political, maybe your political opponents. How are you going to stop that illegal under the table spending of money from the Federal Reserve?
Oh, I think the answer is you have to actually make sure the Federal Reserve is politically accountable. See, this idea that it's supposed to be some sort of special entity that exists outside the checks and balances of government, that's where the original sin begins. Right? And you're correct to point out what very few people are aware of. Absolutely, that happens.
Again,
standing in front of the bitter called truth.
I know, so you can't write it. You can't invent it. Again, None of that is true. No. That is a deranged conspiracy theory, and that here you have a Republican presidential candidate saying you're correct to point out what very few people are aware of.
This is why when you have these candidates that really are trying to get attention, he is polling well because he's been everywhere. He's really been, but it's also because it's about getting attention. It's about getting headlines. It's about appealing to every single voter that you possibly can, even those very much on the fringe, and we're seeing it right there. But because of that, you're going to turn off some other voters who might want to have someone who's being taken a little bit more seriously.
Well, his rise in the polls means that he's taking away votes and attention from candidates who actually could be legitimate presidential candidates. Thanks to one and all for being.
I saw a lot of even the mainstream media reporting on what is happening. That issue clearly tells you something. It is a signal to mainstream media that things are changing. Who could ever believe that this can happen? Taking a look at what happened during this forum, I saw a lot of people reacting to Tucker Carlson, Mike Pence, and to me, Vivek was the winner. These questions on privilege at the beginning, like you just saw, his response was just the best. This issue clearly tells you how intelligent he is. He put his words together and goes straight. These are even the kind of questions people should expect. But you will never see the mainstream media asking these questions. Voters want to know to know their opinions on how they think concerning certain issues. But when the mainstream media is carrying out an interview like this, they will go into topics that we are not even interested in. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please endeavor to do that. And if possible, why not share this clip